La 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 la. I am James Skiffins.
And I am Malcolm Childs, and this is the Just Making Conversation podcast,
where we delve into the highs and lows of the model making hobby that either thrill us or leave us in a bit of a dilemma.
From Airfix to Airspray and everything in between, we're going to be just making conversation. But remember, there are other podcasts that you can listen to.
Plastic Model Mojo,
The Scale Model Podcast,
Plastic Posse Podcast,
On the Bench,
Model Geeks,
Disbrew Cutters Union,
Small Subjects,
and Built Sideways,
Model Poker Poden,
the Micro Machines Podcast,
Show Podcast,
Modelling Insanity Podcast, and just head to modelpodcasts.com for all of those links.
If you've enjoyed this episode, you can show your support in two ways. Leave a fantastic 5-star review on your favourite podcast app for free, or contribute financially.
Cha-ching.
Visit paypal.me/podcastjmc for a one-time donation. Or if you want to go mad, you can always go for a monthly donation. Check us out on patreon.com/justmakingconversation. It's easy as pie.
It's not though, is it? Paul had a problem.
Well, it wasn't easy as pie, no, but Paul didn't eat all the pies. I think that was the problem. If someone ate all the pies and Paul couldn't get one. It is easy as cheesecake.
Let's just do that then. It's as easy as cheesecake with a buttery biscuit base.
Of hobnobs.
In this episode right here, we're going to be just making conversation with the Airfix team about the new release of the 135th Ferret, and just how the team came together in the product choice and design.
Let's face it, who better to ask than the chief Airfix researcher, Luke, and the designer himself, Ethan, behind all the work in bringing out the actual model.
Why did Airfix choose the Ferret? And just what were the challenges in bringing this kit to the market?
Before we get to the interview and all that sort of stuff, what have you been working on your bench this week?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. So you want to see my scale model? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, have you got a scale model that you can show? It's a little bit like a visual joke. Doesn't work too well on the podcast, but I'll explain what I see.
Okay, you ready? That's my 1/12 scale model. You like it? What? It's good, isn't it?
That is fantastic. Do you know what? I've got to be honest with you. I have never seen a model like that. I don't know where the kit's from. Where is the kit? Tell us more about this kit. Where's this kit come from?
From Miniature Village Vintage Toys, Dollhouse Home Decor.
Oh, okay.
But this scale model, yeah, perfect 1/12. It actually works. See? Up and down. Yeah. And you can put the weights on the scales of the scale model.
Wow. So just to give the listeners a little bit of an understanding of what's now happened. So Malcolm has just added a weight to his scale model, and the weight is, in comparison to his pig fingers, it's about the size of a hair. But yeah, it's quite funny to watch.
Yeah,
actually.
so it's a set of scales, but it's a 1/12 scales. So it's my scale model,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's worth the joke, don't you?
Well, yes, I'm sure everyone has stopped rolling around the floor at this point in confusion. I wondered whether this was some sort of link to the Scales of Justice or something to this effect, but it's not.
No, I was literally looking for other things, and I came across kitchen things, and then I came across this scale model, and I was like, "Hey, that's hilarious." That's a joke that's going to run and run. Then I thought, I wonder how many other scale models there are. Now you can buy electric scales in this scale. Buy the scale types that only has the weights on one side and the measuring plate on the other side. You can buy those.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy ones all different colours with designs on them. So I was thinking maybe like I'd just start a special interest group of scale models.
I think that would weigh heavy in the community.
Very good. Very good. To be balanced. I might buy more because they're not that expensive. I have a little tiny table of scale models. a little tiny display.
Mm-hmm. Just want to clarify: is this? Are you setting this up for next year's challenge? Oh,
Well, there's an idea. It's one of the thousands of ideas, stupid ideas I have.
oh, there is.
I don't know if the joke really goes very far. It'd be worth saying, "Hey, did you see the scale models over there?"
It's lasted this long, so
It's lasted minutes. I'll put a picture up on Facebook.
it's not really a kitchen scale,
They are kitchen scales.
are they?
Yeah, they'll go in the kitchen. They'll go in any room you want.
They're that portable. You could even have them on your dashboard.
I mean, they're very yes, they're very old type of scales, and I guess if you were in an oldie sweet shoppy, that would be the sort of scales you'd see. Yeah.
Yeah, the sweet shoppy ones don't have a flat plate. They have a scoopy plate.
Okay. Okay. Well, I don't know. I haven't done my research on this particular scale model.
No, your knowledge on scales models are clearly in line with the podcast, so that's good. Yes.
I don't even know if the invasion stripes are straight or not. Yeah. So there is possibility that this silly idea could start, and I think a funny Facebook group would possibly ensue.
I can think of at least half a dozen listeners that will be up for the challenge. Definitely.
I can think of half a dozen. That would be. Yeah, so look out for that. Maybe we'll do that in the future. Have a look at the Facebook picture. Anyway, the other thing that I have been really working properly, these are 1/44 scale peoples for my shuttle diorama, and I've started painting them up. Obviously, when I bought them, they were all painted. They are all painted like absolute shit. So I've resprayed them, primed them up, and then I've now been spending my hours painting them, putting all different colours on them. Brown corduroys, light brown corduroys. Some got like blue flares on. One's got like a bright orange.
Google.
No, it's a shell suit. It's got stripes down the arms.
Oh, okay.
Too early for a shell suit.
I was about to congratulate you on picking outfits that were very similar to the time. I mean, you've done research, I can tell.
Yeah, I have. So everyone was very well dressed. You know, people with jackets on and that sort of thing. And I think this guy's got ruffles on his shirt, if I remember rightly. With his hands in his pockets. She's got a yellow miniskirt on. He's looking very cross. I worked on it all day today, and I've got about 3 colours on the whole lot of them.
That's going to be a mission of patience to do those.
Well, I've done most of them, kind of. So I've given it a go. Then I'm going to have to work out how to put them onto a base.
Are you going to go full into it? I.e., are you going to change the lipstick shades that some of the characters are wearing, or
I'll go as detailed as I can be bothered. I mean, there is a lot on there, so it's just going to have to be a representation of the amount of people. There was 200,000 people, and I'm not Martin Van Gils. I haven't got that much skill or patience.
all the space to put them all on one board.
And I'm doing the people in it because I'm still procrastinating about finishing the 747 and the shuttle, which is kind of the whole point of the thing. But I want to make sure that I'm able to do the base. Otherwise, if I can't do the base, then the shuttle's not going to look as good as I want it to be. So I've bought the base. I showed you that last time, and I need to put the tarmac panels on. The airfield blocks. Need to do that. And I was going to buy a Coastal Kits image to use, but I've changed my mind. I'm actually going to build it from scratch, so it has a bit of texture to it.
Yeah,
that might be a mistake. We might be revisiting that.
I don't think it is. It's well within your skill set, and I think it will add an awful lot to it by doing that.
And then I've got to grass it, so flock it. Might not use flock because this is 1/44 scale grass. I might just use very fine sand and just paint that greens rounds.
Just some very fine sawdust.
But it was very, very long grass. In the photographs, it was very long grass there. That's me. What about you? What's been going on in your bench areas?
Well, obviously we did the live for the start of the build for the Moosaroo Cup.
Oh my God, we did. Yes, we did.
So that's progressed no further than what we did live, because I've left it there on the side.
Enjoy the live?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the live, actually. Thank you for everyone that tuned in. It was a lot more than I anticipated because it was a spur of the moment sort of thing. It wasn't really spur of the moment. We planned it for ages, but we just decided to do it there and then. So yeah, so I haven't actually done an awful lot of model making at all in the last couple of weeks. Just the Moosaroo. I've been busy just doing stuff, not model related. Learning how to pick up one of those great big sacks that you get your sand delivered in. That's almost the size of a skip.
Oh, you've been doing gardening, have you?
My darling mother-in-law is over. Love her. The garden is now winterized. What that means is she's hacked everything that didn't move and moved it into 5 bags up of stuff.
Wow.
And obviously I've had to put those on the donkey down to the appropriate recycling department.
Yeah, what about the bags of sand?
As usual, when we do the winterization of the garden, it involves compost and sand. So there has been some humping about of rather large bags.
That's why you haven't been done any model making.
Ah, yes.
Good Lord. You had it here first.
That's it. I've been too busy humping big bags
Oh, my God.
and then emptying the bigger sacks. But yes, yeah, so that's all I've actually been doing, unfortunately. The tarp build has not moved on any further. It has the base color on. I've got to do some weatherization to it. And
Come on, man. You've only got like a week or 2 or 3.
oh, it's gonna be played with this weekend at some point. Everything else is ready to rock and roll on it. I just want to finalize the tarpage.
What is it exactly? I can't remember. Remind me.
So my tarp build was a nice dump of jerry cans with a tarp over it and a tree.
Yes.
And a man standing there saying, "I don't need all this."
That's it. I remember.
As close to finished as it could possibly be. So
cool.
That'll be done.
So I got a box in the post. Inside the box is a tarp build.
Tarpage.
I want to take it out of the box to show you. And I don't want to damage it before it comes out for taking to Telford. I'm going to take it out in a very clever and delicate way using my surgical skills and delicate tools, as it has been packed in a very, very clever way where all the bits and pieces are held. There we go. What it is a very large chunk of woody base, which looks very, very nice, and a oil drum, a tarp, and under the tarp is what looks like a leg and a foot.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side there's a little bit of blood, and it looks like something has transpired. Something not good has happened recently. Now, what I like about it is that tarp looks super scale thin.
Oh, lovely.
Isn't it? And the thing's tiny. And this has come from Stuart Hatton. He says, in a little letter I have hither, it says, "Hi Malcolm, I hope this survived the journey and can be fitted in somewhere. I don't need it back, so feel free to keep it or give it away. Kind regards, Stuart." I will be keeping this.
Yeah, I would.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Stuart. I will put this on the table for everyone to see at Scale Model World with the other tarps. I've just noticed that bit there is his other leg.
Oh.
So it's worse than we thought.
Yeah, that's not a pleasant incident that's happened under the tarp.
I don't think so, no.
I did forget to mention, however, there was one other thing I've been doing this week, and that is rearranging paint organisation within the hobby room.
Oh, okay. Why is that?
Because I have put some racks up on the wall for the outlaw paints.
Oh, new ones, yeah?
Yeah. I haven't got enough, but I have sufficient for now.
Cool.
But yeah, it's all reorganised. All the other colours have been reorganised, and of course I've got to get one more rack, and then I will change over a couple, because then I will have all my little bottles at the bottom and my bigger lacquers on the top. One of the main reasons for that is because I've got my two thin coats in which I'm going to put on the up there on the wall as well. So
Get you and all your hundreds of paints and stuff.
Yeah, look at me with my full range of hobbying issues.
Absolutely.
Not super happy with the positioning of my model colours, but I will fiddle some more.
Do you use your paint colour as like a decoration for your room?
Because it's on the wall, it becomes modern art, yes. And also because the paint pots are on the wall, it hides any splatters that may have occurred or not, that I can neither confirm or deny.
Yeah, I'm not sure about mine. Mine are kind of inaccessible. Mine are up on the wall as well, but they're not. Can't get to them very well because they're behind the desk now. So I might have to rethink what I'm going to do.
Yeah, the problem is you've got quite a deep desk where I don't. So the accessibility for me is very, very easy because it's literally within arm's reach in front of me. The only downside to that is where my lighting is positioned and my microphone. It now obscures some of the range, which annoys me a little. I don't know why. It's really easy just to push a microphone out of the way and find the color you want. But yeah, it's just me being me. It's given me the opportunity to pull a few things out that a cardboard box that I purchased some time ago, and now it's there for me to use instead of me forgetting that it's there to be used.
We've got some comments to go through, and some chat, and some emails, and some correspondence, and communiques, and pigeons.
We do. So looking over at Facebook, we've got Gordon Sorensen who said, thanks. He really enjoyed the live stream yesterday. Looking forward to seeing more progress on the Ural. Thoroughly enjoyed the live. And I haven't as yet spoken to Malcolm about doing another one.
Could have done one tonight.
We could have.
If we didn't have to listen to record, we could have just said, hey, what are you up to? I'm not doing anything the next couple of hours. Trying to go live here. Why not? Boom.
Well, we can do that at some point. Not a problem.
We could. So maybe, between now and Telford, we'll pop up on a live without announcing it. That'll be fun. Yeah, so thank you, Gordon, for that. That's kind. Thank you to Johan Jakobsen Frentzen. He says, thank you for a brilliant podcast. It's such a great listen. Here's a suggestion.
Ooh.
I'd love to hear an episode on wooden scale model kits. In the United States, there's a wonderful manufacturer of wooden scale model trains called R. Duck Locomotive Works.
Ooh.
How about an interview with Trip Aquadro, the guy who runs it? Why wooden kits? What's so great about wooden kits? Why would anyone prefer wooden kits to plastic kits? Questions like that need to be answered. I'm not affiliated with R. Duck Locomotive Works at all. But I built their 8 shunter kit this spring, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's just something about building something out of wood. I don't know. Wouldn't know. Get it?
I wouldn't have thought of that.
Many of these new scale wooden kits have a sort of clunky aesthetic to them, which I like. They're not 100% to scale, as opposed to scale model boats, but they look fantastic, I think. Great for beginners as well. Now, I know how you feel about trains, but still, maybe this idea is worth considering. Speaking of trains, I've long... He knows how we feel about them, but he just goes on about them. This entire thing is about trains.
Maybe he's training us up.
Speaking of trains, I've long wondered why there aren't many models of mid-late 20th century locomotives out there. You'd think that there'd be a market for kits of diesel electric locomotives, but nobody makes such kits. But there are a few, most notably Aoshima. How come Airfix isn't releasing kits of Deltics and Class 37s every other week? Surely they'd sell. Or am I completely in the wrong about this? Keep up the excellent work. All the best, Johan.
Clear signal from Johan about his love of trains. We got the points. We will track down the best we can someone, and we'll. You
seem all derailed. You're right. Thank you, Johan, for that.
The wooden kits are a great thing. I mean, you could go off on a slight tangent. Little bookends and stuff like that, the little shops and stuff that are out there as well. So,
oh yes,
maybe we should tackle this head on.
Book nooks, that's what they're called, isn't it?
Book nooks, that's it. Yeah, thank you.
war gamers make wooden terrain, and that's a thing. And, all right, maybe we could. Maybe we should.
So you've given us lots of ideas there. So thank you for that. Patreon. We mentioned it earlier. You can join our Patreon group for a very minimal amount of money per month. And one of those said people is Mark Doramus. He says, "Hello, gents," in his worst Dick Van Dyke Cockney accent.
Good day, Mary Poppins.
That's Australian. Come on. He says, "It started with the intro, the smooth transition from the instrumental music, pomp and circumstance, into the variable speed horn introduction was brilliant. I sat alone in my truck in traffic applauding. It was great." He really enjoyed the chat with Mark Drayton, as we did. It was very insightful. And he said, "I've heard this story before. I knew he was from Great Britain, but you two really brought out his inner Brit. I've never heard him talk in such a British accent. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And yes, I take no credit whatsoever for the intro. That's Malcolm and his wizardry.
With the audio, and that's why he makes me sound so great. So thank you, Malcolm, for that.
That's right, mate. You should listen to it now and again.
Yeah, that's the thought.
Mark, thank you very much, mate, for spending the time to say thank you. It's awesome.
And Mark, just a notion for the health and safety guy who's just hit me over the head with the clipboard to remind you to make sure you use both of your hands on the steering wheel while driving a truck, and do not applaud, because that would be a health and safety risk.
He says that he was in traffic, so I'm assuming he meant he was not moving.
I assumed that, but the health and safety rep here is jumping up and down and waving his clipboard at me, so I have to say that for him. Is that sufficient now? Now put your clipboard somewhere else. Thank you.
Michael Shelley has also commented, suggesting that we talk about CAD, but going into really fine detail about how CAD is used in scale model making. So perhaps we'll do that in the future.
Do you know what would be good? I'm going to throw this out there. I've not discussed this with you in any way, shape, or form, but I'm going to throw it out there because I know.
Here we go.
It's not big-headed of me, but I know the Airfix team listen to us. I know the designers are sat there designing, and they need a distraction, and we are there to help you. But how about let's do a roundtable episode where you talk to us about the skills that you endure to bring out these amazing kits for us to finish for you, because you can't finish them.
That'd be lovely. Yeah, I'll be up for that.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good idea. So I tell you what I'm going to do.
Well, we're going to find out if they listen to us first.
I'm going to put an invitation out there to some people I know. It'll be Doris from next door. She's very, very good with designing. And what I suggest you do, because I know, Mark, I know you'll do this. I know a couple of other people that listen to us will do this. Jot down some questions for us, throw them in, and we can preempt the roundtable with a few pointers as to where we want to go with it from your suggestions.
And this is for CAD designers, is that specifically?
The integral bits and pieces to do with CAD that we're all ignorant about.
Well, what Michael says, he says a high-level overview of the process of translating a full-size object into a box of parts, from measurements to CAD file to cutting the molds and what changes or modifications are necessary to end up with a kit. So yeah, he's basically asking this whole process. So we certainly can do that, couldn't we?
Well, let's try and do that. Let's try and do a round table. We could make that something special. That's all our messages for this episode. Thank you, everyone that's taken the time and trouble to do so. It's great to see the conversations. We didn't do the intro for the Moosaroo update.
Is there a Moosaroo update?
I sort of did a Moosaroo update in amongst what I've been doing this week, or these last 2 weeks.
Oh, it was a stealth update.
It was a stealth Moosaroo, yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't get the intro in.
No.
Oh, that's sad.
I can do a further update for you. Do you want breaking news update for Moosaroo?
Is it worth it though?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Always worth it. You know me. I'm always up to date with things. I always like to share what's going on right now.
But if I press the button, it's an extra couple of pence I have to put in the machine to play the intro.
Well, that's okay. There you go. There's 50p. Pop it in, and we can play it a couple of times.
Moosaroo Cup.
Let's talk about the Moosaroo Cup. Boom! Woohoo!
The best up to date right now. What's happening with the Moosaroo build is it's sitting there collecting dust. There we go.
Oh, you bastard!
I know, but we can't not have that because people will go, "What happened to the Moosaroo update?"
That's all they listen for.
They might have skipped past all the stealth comments about the Moosaroo build that we went into for hours, and then be waiting out for that jingle and gone, "Now I can listen."
Yeah.
And you'll have to rewind and go back to the stealth announcement.
How long do you have left to finish your Moosaroo build?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, and I can tell you without looking at the piece of paper that it's several sleeps time.
It's several sleeps. It's 4 months.
Yes, it's not long.
It's 4 months.
4 months is not long.
4 months is going to go like that.
I can guarantee you there'll be an episode be going a little bit like yourself. What do you mean only 3 weeks to go?
At least you started it, eh?
Oh no, it'll be done by the end of the year, definitely. Because after mid-November, I will be a gibbering wreck. So I will need something to bring back my sanity. Although I'm not sure a 1/72 Ural truck is sanity in itself. But hey, I can't be picky.
Have you been keeping up with the other Moosaroos on the Facebook?
No, I have been all but hiding the last few weeks. Did see one picture, which I think was from the Mr. Meddings build, about his progress with his scratch building, and I just skipped past it.
Why?
I don't want to make a big thing of it. He's going to a lot of effort, and I don't know why you just can't build it out of the box like everyone else,
Well, exactly. Yeah, Chris is a scratch builder. So it's this thing, isn't it? So it's going to do.
Really looking forward to him bringing it together. The picture I saw was the detail that's going inside the cab, and it brought back memories for me of making a Kuba wagon that was burnt out. And it was very interesting to see what he'd done and how he'd done it. Like I say, I just saw the one picture. Maybe that's why he's only feeding us little bits, because the book will be out in about 5 months' time.
Who knows? Hopefully.
Oh, no, I'm serious. I really hope so, because it would be lovely to see the journey that he's taken and how he's done it. I love stuff like that. It's just brilliant.
Well, if you're listening and you want to get involved, go and check out the Moosaroo Cup on Facebook, the Facebook group where everyone's putting out their pictures. Well, apart from James, of their builds and what they're doing, and keeping up to speed.
I'll put pictures up when there's something to put a picture up of.
Did you put a picture up of your latest?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, I did.
Oh, okay. All right. I take it all back.
It might not have gone up directly after the live, but I certainly did. Write that down. I certainly did put a picture up by the time this has got out.
Certainly wrote it down.
But one thing I want to quickly we have touched upon it slightly, but I'm going to just remind everybody, talking about deadlines, just remember, if you are doing your tarp build, your homage to the tarp, you have only got a very short period of time now to do it. In fact, as this pod goes out, you've got days to get it done. If you're taking it to Telford, which I hope you are, and like we've alluded to earlier, someone has sent one to Malcolm. You might not have enough time to send more to Malcolm now. Don't stress over it. Remember, it's just a model. It's your model. Bring it along. It'd be lovely to see lots of tarps everywhere. And I am aware that we do have a tarp in the model competition as well. So
I'm sure there'll be more than one.
I hope so. It's just handy because we have got. I was talking to Richard, funny enough, the other day, and they were trying to organise a tarp expert to come in and do the judging for that.
Tarp expert?
Yeah, there are such people that are tarp experts, apparently.
Why didn't he keep that under his hat? Shouldn't he introduce him to us now or 6 months ago?
No. He's been under the tarp. That's the problem.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, we've got some prizes to give away. So if you are going to bring it,
we got prizes, and we have, in all honesty, got an expert of many things who will be doing the judging. We nailed him down and made him promise that he would do it.
Yeah, I can't wait. Great. Right, let's get on with the interview, shall we?
Okay, let me do the introduction because I've been working on this.
Oh, all right.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So, Malcolm, I've been wandering around and I looked under the tarp of goodness
Yeah.
and found these two Herberts, Luke and Ethan. I think they're doing a bit of research for the next project, but I've dragged them out. We're going to have a chat with them.
Okay.
Hi, Luke. Hi, Ethan. How are you doing?
Pretty well yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. What's the weather like where you are today?
Couple showers, but it's all right.
Over to you, Malcolm.
Right.
That was my bit.
How was the weather? Was that literally it? Welcome. Thanks for joining us. We want to talk to you about the ferret that you had worked so hard on and is out now. Just got a couple of questions. Just wondering if you can wax about it a little bit, just for us, our personal interest, and our listeners. Both of them. I'm sure they'd be very, very interested.
We can certainly try.
Yeah.
I'm the researcher for Airfix for all my sins. Whilst there's a team of designers, there's only one researcher. Whilst I'm entertaining Ethan, I also have to entertain the other four in the building. So I go out and try and find all the information to hopefully make a very accurate model.
Thank you. And Ethan?
So I've been here a couple of years now.
Yeah, 2 years.
Couple of years.
Yeah.
I'm the one who designed Ferret with a lot of help from Luke.
Do the designers all talk to each other and work out how to help each other, or is it quite focused on your own project?
Yeah, there's a lot of focus on yourself, but because we're all sat together, it's really easy to ask each other questions, especially for something like this where it was like my first full project. I was asking tons of questions all the time, asking how certain bits work and getting more used to the software and trying to get all the little tricks. Always have a lot of contact with our design manager, Matt, who does a lot of checking because he, seasoned pros. He knows everything. So if I got any big questions, I'll ask him, and people like Chris, you'll know. If I'm ever stuck or need a bit of help, I'll ask them.
Right.
It's collaborative, but once again, it's like your own baby, so you're spending all the time on it yourself.
As a brand, it should be one constant standard. So if someone said to me, "Oh, I know it's designed by so and so," we failed as a brand, because they all sit together. Apart from when we tell them who designed it, they sit together and they should all bounce off each other, and they're constantly checking each other's projects. And then the same people outside the design team are also checking them. So myself, the big boss, Martin, and other people. So we try and have this nice constant level.
So it's a big collaboration through the whole company then?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's good. Just cut to the chase. When is the Mark 1 out?
I don't know what you're talking about. I always say to people, we can neither confirm nor deny that there'll be a second version of anything. But if you look at every release we've ever done, have we ever just done one release and stopped there? And I'll leave that with you.
Excellent.
Okay. So in time.
You'll have to make your own conclusions.
Yeah, time is infinite. Anything can happen. Someone I know who owns a fox asked me that question to ask you guys. So I've done my duty as a friend.
Any questions, the same for all podcasts, and anyone that asks me at shows, we'll give the same answer. We're under the Secrets Act here, really.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah,
We can nudge you, but we can't tell you what's happening.
Absolutely. I mean, we get that. And, when we go to the bar later, there'll be lots of applying of alcohol to try and loosen that.
Well, that's why I like Telford. If they know who you are, they try and buy your drinks and get information out of you. But I can hold my alcohol to a point that I've not told anyone what the secret releases are, or what January brings. If you buy me a few drinks, we'll see.
Malcolm, that might have been a challenge throwdown there for Telford. That could be interesting. I will talk to my mother-in-law and I'll come back to you on that, Luke. But I've got a question for Ethan. What was the most challenging part of designing this particular kit?
For this specifically, probably the suspension. Like, it's a lot of small parts in a small space, which really trying to work out, the most suitable build order and what to include and what not to include, because you can go so detailed and technical with it. There's kind of a limit, but it still needs to look as realistic as possible. So we did a lot of tweaking. And the way suspension works, it's, we're trying to get all the best references and line it all up, but it's quite hard to find all the bits. But you found some great images and references for me.
If you ever go up to a ferret and try and look for the suspension, you'll be crawling on the floor.
Yeah.
It is all hidden away. So it's a dirty job researching. You're really into the intricacies. It's easier to see it off of the vehicle, which is easier said than done.
It's that thing where when you're on the computer, like all day, every day, it's blown up on your screen and you're thinking, oh, too small, am I going too fine? And these bits is actually going to all go together easily. That's why the prototyping really helps with especially that bit, because you could have a little mess around to see, you know, the order of fitting it all in, what it looked like, and then you could do a few tweaks after that. But it's one of those bits where you want it to look, you know, busy. So you want to put a lot of detail and time into it.
Sure. Yeah, you want to represent as much detail as you can. Yeah, within the limits of what the plastic can do, I suppose. Is that the same process when you're designing the interior? Because there's not many interior details. So I just wonder what, in terms of time and, you know, everything else, how do you decide if you're going to do an interior or not?
We knew from experience of seeing the ferret anyway that once all the hatches are open, you don't see a lot in there. And so the thought was, once you're at scale, it's going to be even harder to see anything in there. You kind of know that if you're looking through, for example, like the front hatches, you're seeing that kind of back wall, the radios, things like that. If you're looking in the side, we did discuss adding some more detail, but the problem was once you start adding, I guess, like a type of detail, you suddenly have to do it across the whole interior. And with like time and then cost and getting all molded, suddenly becomes so complicated. And
it is a commercial decision, commercial and a build decision. If you look at the history of armoured fighting vehicles, you know, this is probably our first in-house design 35th in a long time, because K2 was Academy that designed it, not ourselves. And before that, we've obviously been reboxing Academy kit. So it's sort of the start of 35th in Airfix. So we're inexperienced as a design team and an R&D team. So we needed to set the bar at a level that we were happy to then carry on with. So if you look at some armour kits, there are 400, 500 parts, but very impressive and great for the super detailer. But the majority of people, it's too scary for them. It's intimidating. And to what end, you know, does it end up being that much of a better model when it's got 200% more parts? Probably not. If you look at the K2, there are two different approaches with the K2 that recently came out. If you go up to anyone at a stand that's got a K2, yeah, I built the Airfix one, the other one's in the stash, sort of thing. It's a level of enjoyment. People want to throw something together, especially armour. We found, obviously, this is a generalisation. People don't want to agonise over it for months and months and months. The beauty of armour is you can get a rattle can out, spray it green, put loads of mud over it, and it's done. And when it comes to internal detail, as Ethan said, it's about visibility, but also you might be adding £5-10 onto the price. Are you going to sell loads more because of the interior? Probably sell less because it's more expensive. So it's finding a nice balancing act where the researcher, I'm always saying to these guys, put more in, but you do have to draw a line. And it's about finding that balance.
Good example is that engine bay. We could have spent so much extra time doing all the engine parts in there, but once again, that would have just driven the price up. And as long as we leave that section open, have closable doors, someone else can do that as a aftermarket sort of thing.
Yep, scratch build, yeah.
Leave the option open. You've got your base, all the outsides, you know, highly detailed, and there's decent detail on the inside. But then go to aftermarket if you want to take it a bit further.
We have to realise as a team there is a vocal minority within the hobby. You have to be very careful if you can't just listen to those, because for the 5% there, 95% of the people you'll never hear from, and they'll build away and they'll be happy. Normally, the vocal minority are those that are very involved within the hobby and would always ask for more and more and more, to the point where it becomes inaccessible for that other part. It's, again, that balance.
I totally understand the thought process. Different brands deliver different parts to the hobby. And I think that's where Airfix do so well, is to do that wide spectrum approach. And then anyone that wants to add that little extra or is, you know, into the scratch building or the aftermarket, that's there for them to add in. That also delivers another side of the market to a different company to allow them to expand their portfolio. To me, it's a little bit like a symbiotic approach to not only your customers, but also to the market and other people that deliver things within that market.
So the last thing you want is to bring out a kit at the same time as someone else, because it damages both brands. So as you say, it's all about having this symbiotic relationship with the other brands, having good relationships with them. You can't tell each other what you're doing. You can hint.
Yeah.
You know, and you obviously know people across the trade, and it's just trying to do what you can to carve out your little niche that people sort of know and respect. So, you know, Airfix, as you said, is quite a wide-ranging audience, and generally we have a type of subject. And you could say that about most brands. They have a type. Academy, for example, aircraft is US aircraft. Tamiya they'll do more Japanese stuff, but there's a big focus on US and Luftwaffe. So, and then we're this British niche generally. That's how we view ourselves. So people know what you're going to do, know sort of where you're going, and they'll look at stuff on wish lists and go, we won't do that because there's every chance that Airfix might bring it out, and we do the same as well.
Well, Airfix being British, then is there a push to go towards more British subjects? What with the ferrets being released?
Well,
has that been considered in the past?
Actually, it's the opposite in terms of we know our niche, and you have to respect it because that's what the audience have grown to expect. We're very careful to not just be in that corner. We want to explore out. So whilst we have our comfort zone almost, and where people expect us to go, so Ferret, British, but it's 35th Armour. So would people have thought we were going to do that? Probably not. But we have to be very careful. Look at Hellcat when that came out. That took people by surprise because it's not a big Spitfire, which is the obvious choice when it comes to 24th. It's an American carrier aircraft out of nowhere, and we have to keep surprising people and keep our designers fresh. They can't just expect to do British stuff forever. They have to do Luftwaffe every now and then and various other air forces.
So
we're not pushing for more British. In fact, that is our default.
Something I want to pick up on in something you said earlier is the in-house designing of 135th kits. You're learning that process or adapting the processes you have to meet that need. So I'm assuming with that time and effort that you're investing, is that a slight hint that there may be in the future a little bit more push towards that direction? Certainly in-house.
As in pushing more towards 35th?
The 35th that you've been doing it's new to you. It's slightly more complicated, slightly different approach. It's not something you've just done specifically for this particular item.
All we can say is that the Ferret is dipping our toe in, and if it goes well, then we'd be stupid not to. That's all we can say. So you can sort of judge it by the reception. That I'd say it's gone well. We've not had anyone saying it's awful.
Yeah.
I personally have heard a lot of good feedback about it, the way it all goes together, and actually, to be honest, the amount of detail as well. Really, really, really positive. And the reason I asked that question wasn't to set you up. It was more of a case of that question might linger because of what you said. So I just thought I'd get that done so there wasn't any rumours for Telford because I don't want to get shot.
Where would we go after Ferret? What would you say we should do?
Oh, well, I mean, if you remember, Luke, when we first came down and spoke to you at HQ, one of the things I said to you was that I really wish that you would bring out Second World War vehicles that you used to have that were, I would assume, designed and all sorted by a different company. So, for example, the Bedford trucks and all that sort of stuff, Land Rovers in 135th and et cetera, because your focus sometimes is in the British area, 135th stuff, some stuff like that would, for me personally, would be amazing to see in the Airfix range.
Malcolm, suggestions?
Humber Pig be good, 35th.
Humber Pig, yeah.
The six-wheel Bedford and some Land Rovers would be good on the 35th. So all British sort of Falkland era, Northern Ireland conflict time. Well, I'm talking to a lot of veterans. That's the stuff they want to build because that's the stuff they remember.
It's interesting because the Ferret, that's what we heard a lot of after releasing it was, I love these. I used to drive them when I was in the army, or the specification was issued in 48, I think. So it's not far after the Second World War.
Yes.
And they were in service early 50s. They served up until the Gulf War in Mark IIs and Mark Is, early 90s. And there are so many out in private hands. Can't move for them. We can't escape them now.
I think we just didn't realise everyone seems to have had an experience with one at some point. We knew it was a popular thing, but my God, I just see them everywhere.
It's like when you hear a word for the first time. And then for the next week or two, everyone seems to be saying that one word you've never once heard. It's the same with ferrets.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be asking everyone what their experience with ferrets are, because they might take the take the question a bit wrong. Do you have a hutch in your garden? Talking about the kit and going together, I have also heard, James, that the kit goes together very, very well. It's a nice kit to build, so kudos on that. My last question I have about the kit, though, is what decision influences whether you're going to have tyres with weight on them or just perfectly round tyres as if it was in motion? Is there I would have thought there would be less plastic involved in a weighted tyre. I might be wrong.
It's minuscule. The difference is minuscule in terms of cost. You probably wouldn't notice it. In terms of design time, Ethan will tell you putting weight on them is harder.
So there's a conversation to go whether do we do the tyres as is or do we do it completely round and then leave it to the modeler to squish them down, or how does it work?
Yeah, there would have been a conversation about because they are round on ours, aren't they? Yeah. Trying to remember what our kit looks like. We would have just looked at a lot of photos and sort of tried to judge it, basically. You know, if we had looked at loads of photos and seen that they really have this huge sort of sag when they're fully laden with men and guns, then we would have reflected it. But it's probably quite minor, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like from a lot of our references, it was so slight against it.
We'd have also scanned we scanned a couple of these in the end. It wasn't that noticeable. That being said, if anyone wants to flatten them, then it is possible to. As with any wheels, it just takes a bit of modelling. God forbid.
Yeah. Just a bit of heat and iron. I've heard you can heat the whole thing up and push it against the iron. Not that I would recommend using heat and plastic, of course. Weight on tyres kind of gives it that extra little bit of realism, and obviously gives it the impression of having weight to it. And these things were big and heavy. One last question that I will ask, and I don't know if you're allowed to say or not, but I'll ask it anyway. On the Scale Model World Telford Hall map, where you guys are, where you always are, in front of the make and take area, there's a yellow box that says exhibit on it.
There is. Without prior approval, we can't tell you, unfortunately.
Understood.
But I know where that question was going, and I couldn't confirm or deny. I know what's going there because I have arranged for it to go there. But that box isn't big enough for a plane. So
So the 124 Lancaster's definitely not going to be there. Oh, that's a shame.
No, well, not the whole thing. The cockpit section, maybe.
Well, I guess we're going to have to put two and two together and work out what you might have there. We've got an exhibit as well going in up at the top of Hall 3 where Models for Heroes are. But I won't tell you what's in our exhibit as well then.
Oh, go on, please.
So a quick question for you guys. I think I've asked this for you, Luke, before about the hobby and whether you take the work home and use it as a relaxing tool. Ethan, do you do model making at home?
I do a lot more like miniature stuff, like miniature wargaming stuff.
Oh, okay.
James Workshop, like Warhammer stuff, Star Wars Legion, things like that. So I do a bit more of that. That's why I was so interested in coming to Airfix.
Mm-hmm.
Part of my hobby anyway, obviously slightly different, but that's why I enjoy it so much.
Bit of a busman's holiday, especially if you're working on an Airfix kit and you work for Airfix. I think I said to you before, James, you end up researching it even more. And then I go, cool, I'm tired. Oh, yeah, it's because I'm working. I'm not being paid. So whilst our kits are the best kits, I won't touch them because I worked on them. So
I'm just going to have to brag. I say everyone at Christmas is going to love this. It's from me. It's from me.
Excellent. And are there any questions that you are looking forward to receiving or not receiving from every single person you speak to?
I'm looking forward to talking about Vulcan. Oh, no.
I'm looking forward to those questions, to be fair. I want a cup of tea on the side.
Yeah. Personal to me. I like seeing the same old faces. That's the beauty of Telford, isn't it? We get to see our old mate Trevor Snowden once a year. He's fantastic. He'll probably be manning the Buccaneer SIG. Seeing all those old faces that you can go up to stand and speak to them, the ones that always come up and ask questions, but also meeting new people as well. We've got loads of people that have ended up helping on projects, building models for us over the years. So yeah, that's always good. And as I said earlier, the bar on the Friday and the Saturday, but we all go out as a team as well. So it's a little team bonding exercise almost.
It's definitely a fun weekend.
We go out on the Friday and Saturday for dinner together. So
a lot easier to talk about stuff this year, because last year people, oh, so what do you do? Oh, I'm one of the designers. What have you made? Nothing. It's going to be nice to actually talk about stuff I've done.
We were lucky enough to be talking to one of the guys just recently from IPMS, and we were kicking around a few ideas, bits and pieces. And I just wondered, would Airfix or you guys be interested in maybe next year having a moment at Cosford on a Friday before the show, or would that become such a trauma with all the other organisational things that you have to do for the weekend?
It does become difficult to organise anything on the Friday, because if you speak to people that are attending the show,
yeah,
people work, and if you're doing it Friday, it has to be in the day because that's when the museum's open, and it's a bit of a logistical nightmare. So it'd be fantastic, but the majority of your audience wouldn't be able to go. So no, probably not. Telford is long enough when you're a Saturday and a Sunday. And our recce party goes up on the Thursday, so it's a good 4-day event, well 5-day for them because they pack down on the Monday as well. So adding in a visit to Cosford and mingling with the audience, which is great, but it takes up a lot of time.
Okay, are you guys going to do what you do in Telford over in Europe at some point, or is that not something that's ever been put on the table?
It's not been discussed. Certainly not at our level, but it'd be fantastic. Airfix on tour, head over to one of the big model shows. I know, obviously, Edward have E-Day, don't they? Which is always a really good thing. And there's loads of model shows on the continent, but it'd be great to go to, because where we go to Telford, and talking of our niche subject matter, it can be a bit of an echo chamber. Which is nice, it's almost validation for your choices when everyone keeps asking for the same thing. But it'd be nice to be put in front of a new audience and see what their opinion is of the brand past the English Channel, really. It'd be fantastic for a learning opportunity, really.
Do you think that would kick up some unexpected surprises then, because you're talking to a slightly different audience?
I think it would be different. Yeah, I think we would, talking of that echo chamber, knowing what people think of us in Europe is quite difficult. And because all the forums we read and stuff are very English or British focused, again, you sort of back yourself into this corner where you're always hearing the same voices. So trying to widen that as much as possible would be good. And I really do think they think differently because they didn't grow up with Airfix generally on the continent, which is obviously why we benefit so much now. Is Airfix is a household name because of what it was in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and so people have great affection for the brand, which is great, keeps the lights on for us. But it's not the same in Europe, so you are being judged differently, shall we say? You can't rest on your laurels out there. You have to be a player in your own right, which, hopefully you'd agree in the last 10 years we have definitely become in terms of new tooling and what we're doing with them. So it'd be a really interesting opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's something that certainly some of the people over in Europe that I've spoken to would very much welcome Airfix to go over to a show and to be that presence. That was going to be my next thing. Yeah, the States as well. I don't speak to that many from the States, but from the few that I have, that it's the same. The reason I mention it is because obviously we're lucky at Telford that we got Edward coming back over after the pandemic and all that sort of stuff. And I really hope that the guys above you are having that conversation and wanting to do that. And if you need someone to help carry the luggage, give me a shout.
It's logistics is the big issue. Especially since the B word, shall we say? In some ways, and that's part of the reason Edward haven't come over previously. I know we do attend Nuremberg, which is the big toy fair that's out there. That's more as a company, so Hornby Hobbies go over.
That's more of a trade show, though, isn't it? The Nuremberg toy fair.
Yeah, it is.
Exactly. Yeah, I think they have opened to public in the last year or two, but it's on certain days. So yeah, it'd be interesting to go to a sort of a grassroots model show.
Luke, this year you've been everywhere, and almost every show I go to, there's a Luke appearing and setting up an Airfix stand, which is brilliant.
Yeah, just love it that much.
Yeah.
And I've got to say for weddings.
Oh, is that you hiding?
Ah.
Getting out of the way? When are you getting married, Luke?
Next summer. Less than a year to go.
Okay. Gosh.
Wow.
That's time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to not having to save as much money, and it's like the light at the end of the tunnel, which is a horrible way to describe it.
Yeah.
You know, you're more likely to slip up and saying something about Airfix than you are about slipping up about saying something about the wife.
I'm going to stop now because I could get myself in a lot of trouble.
No problem.
Let's get the elephant out of the room. Let's talk about the Vulcan, Luke.
What happened?
Human error. It's all Ethan's fault.
The newbie.
Human error is what happened, and unfortunately, it's something we're constantly trying to get on top of, but you can never fully be on top of. So it's not down to any one person. It was us as a brand not spotting it at the end of a very long project, which isn't an excuse. You know, we should be getting it right. It was designed at the same time as the original release, where we do multiple releases. They're all designed together. It would have been designed back in 2018, 2019, so quite a few years ago now. And it's managed to go unnoticed until it hit the market, which is always the nightmare. That's what you wake up in the middle of the night sweating about sometimes. But, you know, it went through the designer, who's probably, as you'll be aware, seen a picture that is perfectly straight on, showing the pylon and the undercarriage door.
Yeah.
And then the ECM model on a trolley loading to go up onto the pylon. A silly mistake, I think we could all admit that. And you can only see it on that one photo. So it's a lesson in using more than one source straight away. But then it's gone through myself, the deco artists, the various checks it goes through, and no one's questioned it, because on our checklist is pylon actually undercarriage door?
Yes, yeah.
And it's not seeing the wood amongst the trees. You know, we then had to work out how we react to it, and we put out a correction, which is what we felt was right. Point it out, but those in the know probably know that it's quite a simple fix. It's chopping off a bit of that part, not ideal, and the long-term fix is to change the mold, which we will be doing. So it will only affect this one round. So that's where we are with Vulcan. Unfortunate, but not life-ending, because it feels like the world's crashing in around you, especially in the Airfix office when something like that happens.
As you said, we're all human beings, and it's a human error. If you react to it like a human being and say, oh, my apologies, here's the fix. It's how a company reacts to a mistake that they have made. And also, you've raised the rarity of the kits that have those errors in.
That's why we've done it, Malcolm. Yeah.
Clever.
Yeah, I can imagine that moment in the office where Dale's hair went flat and everyone knew something had gone wrong.
We always say to people when they approach us at Telford or any shows, if you flip it back to people and say, you know, in your professional life, did you never make a mistake? I think none of us can say hand on heart we've never made a mistake. So everyone has those moments, no matter what career you're in, profession.
In future, like you said, you know, make sure that you have 2 reference pictures. This just teaches you about what to do next.
Definitely, since I've been in the business, again, not much longer than Ethan, 2.5 years for me. Our research is a lot more robust than when we were doing Vulcan. So sourcing multiple photographs down to that level, but we scan multiple aircraft. We speak to far more experts. The thank you section on the front of the instructions is getting ever bigger because we speak to as many people as possible. And that's where sometimes mistakes can creep in, where you're trying to keep it secret. Other companies announce what they're doing and open it up to the public to tell them, oh, you've got this wrong on your CAD screenshot. And sometimes we're wishing we'd done that, But I think modelers appreciate being surprised sometimes and going, oh, isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, the day when it's big release.
It would be lovely to be able to go, right, we're thinking of doing the Ferrets, for example. This is where we are with it. What do you think? Unfortunately, that's not how we work. So we do have to be a bit sneaky beaky at what we're asking and who we're asking.
My hand on my heart, I can honestly say as a professional...
I'm sure you've never made a mistake, James.
Well, I've never been a professional, so I've never made a mistake. In everything else, millions of mistakes, but let's not focus on the mistakes. Let's look on the positive. There are positives out of a negative, as always.
Guys, we're really looking forward to meeting you again at Scale Model World in November. Guys are going to be down in Hall 1. there's going to be something interesting to go and look at, I'm sure. Or just a big yellow square on the floor. There's an exhibit on it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for coming on Just Making Conversation, and thanks for making us laugh.
Well, it was great hearing from the newest member of the team. Ethan is clearly a rising star in his field, and the passion he has invested in the kit.
It is always fun talking to the chaps at Airfix to watch them dodge and duck away from the questions like model-making politicians.
Next time, we will just be making conversation about other subjects relating to this daft hobby of ours. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. You've been listening to Malcolm's left lung being brought up.
Oh, sorry, I'm ready.
Right. You've been listening to...
Today's episode is brought to you by the letter... All right. Go on then. Don't let me stop.
You've been listening to Just Making Conversation with...
James Skiffins.
And Malcolm of the Childs.
Follow us on the Facebook, where we post photos, updates, and other nonsense.
Find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and all the others.
And let us know what you are just making and what your thoughts are on this conversation in this here episode.
And we must say, of course, a massive thank you to the following supporters from paypal.me/podcast JMC and patreon.com/justmakingconversation.
Paul Gann, Chris McLean, Philippe Lafreniere, Johan Frenson, Mike Beepstucker, Mike Shelley, Mark Harriet, Elliot Capretti, Adam Kieran, Justin Legume, Craig Nichols, Elliot, Robert Lane, Dean, Ravana Builder Model Kit, Callum from Micro Machines Podcast, Paint All the Minis Peter, Brad Warren, Tim Black Rifle, John Julian, Chuck, Mark Beckerwahi, Simon the Jersey Gent, Steve Lee Costas, Mark Ray, Neil Twice, Mike Robert, Andrew Drew, John, Mike, Jeff, Richard Lynn, Gordon, and 7 others.
If you do show your support, leave your name so we can paint the roll of honour on the tail of the next episode. Ta-ra!
Ta-ra.
There we go. Job done.